God bless you. It's a wonderful day that the Lord has made for us to be glad and rejoice in it. I want to thank God for you for being a subscriber in this channel. And once you subscribe, we consider you to be our member. And a membership is what confirms your commitment into the channel. So thank you so much for our subscribers. I want to thank you also for those who are visiting this channel, whether for the first time, for the third time, for the fifth time. There are people who have been viewing our messages, though they have not subscribed. I want to request you to kindly subscribe. That's the best support you can give us. Kindly subscribe so that you can help us grow this ministry. You know, YouTube understands the language of subscribers. When you are a subscriber to this channel, then you help us in YouTube marketing this channel. So God bless you for being a subscriber, and if you have not subscribed, God bless you for taking that decision to subscribe. And if you have any challenge and you want to talk to the man of God, you'll check in the comment section down there. You'll get our WhatsApp number. You'll be able to connect with us and get a one-on-one conversation with the man of God. Now today, without wasting much time, I'm going to take a few minutes. I want to share with us on a subject dealing with the foundations or altars laid by our ancestors. And this is in relation to many areas of our life, majorly our bloodline pattern. It's about bloodline pattern. It's touching on each and every tribe has come from a particular ancestral lineage. You realize that if you are a Luo, for example, we have ancestors that are in the Luo community, and there are some altars that they raised before you were even conceived. They raised some altars. When you look at the Kikuyu community, they raised some altars. And it's now advanced to countries. Different countries operate from a particular altar. Different countries operate from a particular altar. Those altars tend to affect people who stay in those countries. There are some altars that comes with the blessings, and there are some altars that comes with the curses. I can talk of that. And in that manner, we call about generational curses. So when you look at each country and you go deeper to understand on how that country came to be and how the ancestors used to behave, you'll get to understand that whatever they declared or the altar that they raised during that time affect the generations as they continue. And most of the time, altars affect generations from the first generation to the fourth generation. That is biblical. Now, when we look at, for example, let me use Kenya. In Kenya, we have altars that govern Kenya. And that's why you realize that if you come from anywhere and you feel like you can join the government and become the president of that country, if the altar has not yet accepted you, you realize that you need to fight a serious battle to be able to overcome it. And it's not easy. Now, altars breaks altars. So if there's an altar that has been laid, the only way to break that altar is by raising a new altar. So if it's an evil altar, then the only altar that can break that evil altar is a holy altar, that is the altar of the Lord. Now, you realize that, for example, let me give you a good example. We have the president of Kenya currently, who is William Samoei Arap Ruto. Now, William Ruto did not just come to decide and become the president. you will go further and try to look at history back, you'll realize that there are some altars that were raised that favored William Ruto. These altars that were raised by the ancestors, irrespective of the tribe they came from, as long as they are Kenyans and they were powerful at that moment or at that time, whatever they declared is continuing to take place until someone come to break that altar. Until someone come to break that altar. So you realize that we had a president, Jomo Kenyatta. And Jomo Kenyatta played a role in raising an altar. There's an altar that he raised on behalf of the Agikuyu community. That as long as they are in power, Agikuyu community will not extend a hand or will not give presidency to a Luo community who is uncircumcised. So you realize that it came a time now the son to this man wanted to change this norm, and he decided to connect with a Luo leader who is Raila Amolo Odinga to be able to break this. But it became hard and he was not able to do it. The Agikuyu community joined forces to ensure that this one do not work. And they call this guy Mugoroki. You realize that they are calling him names not because they want to call him names, it's just because those altars are still active and they must be broken. So it requires a stronger altar to break such kind of altars. So you might realize that Raila Amolo Odinga might become the AU chairman. You will realize that he's going to become an AU chairman without much struggle, because there is no altar that was raised that a Luo cannot be a president of Africa. But when it comes to Kenya, you realize that there's an altar that operates that he cannot be a president of Kenya through the Agikuyu community. So this tells you that altars are very strong. So the Bible says in Exodus chapter 34 verse 6 to 7 that, and the Lord passed by before him and proclaimed, the Lord, merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abundant in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, and that will by no means clear the guilt, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and upon the children's children, and to the third and fourth generation. Now this one brings out a point clearly that curses or altars that has been raised, for them, they continue being active to the fourth generation. And a reason as to why some altars continue even to the fifth and sixth generation is because at some point along the line, the people that are there, or maybe the second generation or the third generation, renew the altar and it begins to continue afresh to the next generation. So unless we break that altar, then it will remain to be active. So altars are very important. When you look at Leviticus 26 verses 39 to 42, I've told you I'm not going to take long. I just want to bring understanding to you. Then we'll go to the next episode next time. And they that are left of you shall pine away in their iniquity in your enemies' land, and also in the iniquities of their fathers shall they pine away with them, if they shall confess their iniquities. Now this one brings a point where we need someone to rise and try to bring a reverse to whatever that was declared. So if they shall confess their iniquities, you know, you don't break an altar without a revelation of what was done in that altar. In fact, if you might go and try to break an altar that was raised. And an altar is not just an altar, it's not some stone somewhere. There are some words that are spoken behind that altar that becomes the basis or become the driving force behind the altar. So if you want to break that altar, you need to understand what was done in that time. Elisha was in a land somewhere, that is in Kings. You realize that in Jericho, there was a wall and there was a word that was spoken, or rather an altar that was raised, that whoever shall raise a wall that has been destroyed, they will pay with their firstborn son. And if they build a gate, they shall pay with their lastborn son. Then when you look at it, you realize that he was in a land where there was barrenness in that land. The land was not fruitful, was not productive. So Elisha was able to get a revelation of what was done, or an altar that was raised that affected this community. And he was able to break that altar because also the person that deals with that altar must be a stronger person. A curse that has been laid by your father cannot just be broken by your brother. A curse that has been laid by your father cannot be broken by your brother. Maybe your uncle, who is a brother to your father, older than your father, can be in that position because he's the eldest person. But if not, then God is gracious enough. He has given that mandate to men of God like us. But not only men of God, but men of God with understanding. Because if you go to a man of God that do not have the understanding, then you're wasting time. You're wasting time. You're wasting your energy. Because there's a man of God that will try just to pray. Altars are not just praying, or there are procedures. When you look at Elisha, he requested them to give them a barrel. And he took salt and placed in that well. Then he went to the source of the river that was passing through that city. And he cast that salt at the source of the river. That was a revelation that God gave him on how to break that altar. And he spoke words. He reversed the statements that were laid by the ancestors, or that were laid by the person that was in charge, or the man of God, or the priest, or a prophet that was there during the time of laying that altar. And immediately when he did that, it brought relief. People were able to now receive what they were lacking for all those years. So altars are broken by new altars. When the devil led Adam and Eve to sin, God had to work on that issue in terms of an altar, because Jesus was given to be sacrificed on behalf of all of us, for us to be able to get freedom. So freedom is as a result of a new altar, and not only a new altar, but a holy altar that comes to break an evil altar. So that one now tells you that an altar must be raised by a sacrifice. An altar must be raised by a sacrifice. So if you come to break an altar without an understanding, you might end up paying with your blood and no solution. That's why someone came in to build a wall and they were losing their firstborn sons. Someone came in to build a gate and they were losing their lastborn sons. You end up losing lives because you are breaking something that you don't understand. So I'm here to let you know that each and every one of us comes from a particular altar. And unless that altar is dealt with, then you will continue suffering and you shall have a lot of challenges. Now the Bible says in Ezekiel chapter 16 verses 4, where God tells Ezekiel, and for thy nativity, as for thy nativity, when you were born, your umbilical cord was not cut, neither were you washed by water, and nor salted, no eye pitied you. So, no eye pitied you, it means someone must stand in the gap to bring freedom to the people. Even changing bad leadership, a few individuals need to come up to join forces to deal with the bad leadership. You cannot get a revolution without getting some few individuals or one person that will sacrifice on behalf of the rest. So there's one person, and this person must have understanding of the source of the problem. You cannot deal with a problem without getting the source of that problem. So I don't want to go far. I will get you to the next episode. But here, I wanted to lay a foundation that nothing happens without, or nothing is created without a foundation. Even in terms of a building is raised, but the foundation of that building is determined by how tall that building is going to be, or how wide it's going to be. If you have a four-cornered house, when you are building a foundation and there are pillars that need to be done to house, you must have the right number of pillars that will hold that house. If you have less pillars, then woe unto you, because you will lose that building. So altars have standards, and the standards are determined by how stronger the other altar in place is. So God bless you today. I wanted just to bring to you understanding on the introduction part so that we continue. We will understand also deeper what needs to be done to change the leadership of this country. So God bless you. God bless everyone. If you're tuning in for the first time, kindly, I've just requested you and I'm still pleading with you. Click on the subscribe button. And for everyone that is watching, kindly click on the thumbs up like button so that YouTube can market us widely. If you feel like you can give a token of offering to appreciate and support the work of God, just use the number that is in the comment section and God will bless you. Use that number and you'll be able to receive your offering. God bless you so much. God bless you till we meet again. Shalom, shalom, toda rabah.